It's Moghrey Jedoonee with Simon Clarke, and I'm glad to say I have a lovely guest with me this morning. Phil Gawne, more am I.
More am I.
Hey?
Kisto Hayden.
Hey, mighty.
Good, good.
Mighty enough. And, of course, welcome to Moghrey Jedoonee. Brian Stoll, who usually does the programme with me, he's not been overly well lately, but we were talking to him last week and in good spirits, but just said he's not up to doing the programme at the moment. So you go back a long way, Phil.
Yeah, Brian and Adrian Kane, the current the Manx language officer for Culture Vannon, the pair of us got to know Brian when we were away in Liverpool. Adrian, I think, was studying politics at University of Liverpool, and I was doing biochemistry. And of course, Brian at the time was teaching physics. So anyway, these two fresh-faced young Manx fellas appeared in Liverpool, wondering what on earth to do in this huge big city. So we ended up, we decided for some bizarre reason, the pair of us, we'd join the Gaelic Sports Society. And a less likely thing for either of us to do, I think you couldn't think of. However, when we were there, we were talking to some of these people, Irish people they were, and they said, we know a Manx fella called Brian Stoll, and he teaches Irish. I think he speaks Manx as well. So in the end, there was Aid and myself going along every week to Brian's physics lab in Liverpool Poly to learn a bit of Manx, which was great fun, actually. It was good. I mean, how much Manx we actually did or how much politics we were talking about, it's probably another matter, but it was good fun, yeah.
Excellent. And, of course, Adrian, that you mentioned, the Manx language officer, they're heavily involved, of course, with the Moghrey Jedoonee programme in the past. And you've had a bit of a get-together to see what else we can do with it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously we want to help out as best we can. Obviously, Brian is not 100% at the moment, and certainly there's no intention on our part of sort of pushing Brian out or anything like that. You know, if and when Brian gets to a state that he can come back and contribute into the programme, we'll be really pleased to be able to do that. But obviously, we're looking to the future. How can we keep the Moghrey Jedoonee programme going? Both Adrian and myself sit on the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee, and of course the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee has been sponsoring this programme, or the Bingham Scéala Gilgach, as I should call it. We've been sponsoring the programme for, I don't know, the last however many donkey's years, really, and we think it's a really good programme, and we're hoping that we can keep it going in one form or another. Certainly for the next month or so, Adrian, myself, and a few others will hopefully be coming in to help you out on a Sunday morning, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay,
lovely. Well, we'll talk more in a second or two, but great to have some company on a Sunday morning with Phil Gawne on Moghrey Jedoonee, with myself, Simon Clarke, through till 12 today. If you've got anything for the programme, as always, you can text in 166177, send an email, studio@manxradio.com, or you can chance give us a call if there's a song playing, 66 13 60. Deep tune from Alana Miles and Black Velvet's 15 minutes past 10. It's Moghrey Jedoonee here on Manx Radio. Myself and Phil Gawne keeping you company this morning till 12. And Phil, you've sung in Manx, done Manx speaking and dialect, but I think you're round my age. There wasn't much Manx going around then, was there?
Well, it was very sort of, what's it called, piecemeal, I suppose. You were very lucky if you did get exposed to the Manx language, certainly in schools. But in the sort of the early mid-70s, there was a kind of a revival of interest in all things cultural. And I was lucky enough that our head teacher at Arbery School, a fellow called Arthur Crellin, was very much into the idea of the Manx language. So he was started off teaching us a bit of Manx, and then I think there was a fellow called was it Derek Mulhern, I think he was called, used to come in and teach us Manx, and he had those old what do they call those things for doing copies? You had this little handle.
Oh
on it.
yeah,
it was lovely
with nice smell. Of
yes,
it.
lovely smell of whatever it was.
Duplicator,
a duplicator, and he had this thing.
Carbon paper.
Yes.
With it.
So anyway, we did a bit of Manx at primary school, nothing at secondary school. And it was really, it was only when I came across Brian that I properly started to learn Manx. So bizarrely, learned Manx in Liverpool. So yeah, but of course the reason I was so keen on that was, you at the time, as you'll remember, in the 70s, there was quite a lot of change happening in the Isle of Man, and this was clearly affecting young Gawne at the time. And you were hearing all these old fellas with very, very strong Manx accents, and a lot of my family. I mean, there was 9 brothers and sisters on one side of the Gawne family, and a similar number on the other, and they were all of a certain age and a certain sort of culture about them, and the language that they had. 2 or 3 of them had been to live with their grandparents, because trying to fit 9 in a 2-bedroom cottage obviously wasn't a great thing.
Didn't get much help from social services.
So of course the ones that were with the grandparents, they spoke an even stronger sort of Manx accent, and then of course you go back into the family history a bit, and you find that, well, the grandparents were probably primarily speaking Manx, and they only had a little bit of English. So actually, you start thinking about those connections, and I always thought, it would be great to start speaking Manx and learn about it. So that's what really got me going. And as I say, the fortuitous situation of bumping into Brian, because again, the chances of Aid and myself going to the Gaelic Sports Society fairly slim, really, and then the chance of the person who just happened to be on the desk at the time we went there, knowing that Brian Stoll was teaching Irish, and knowing that he might have a bit of Manx, so otherwise neither Adrian or myself would have been where we are today. So yeah.
Interesting stuff. All right, thank you. We'll continue that shortly. We've got this to take us 19 minutes past 10. Moghrey Jedoonee, we're looking ahead, Phil, which is a nice thing, and it's nice that this programme and things like this have been able to keep going in a way, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mentioned earlier about the Gaelic Broadcasting Committee, Bingham Scéala Gaeilge, and Culture Vannon. Well, the committee, Gaelic Broadcasting Committee, used to exist under the I think it was the Communications Commission, but it was felt that it was a better fit to move it in with Culture Vannon. So the committee basically consists of a group of people involved in one way or another with Manx broadcasting, and we've decided we want the Moghrey Jedoonee programme to carry on. We see it as a great opportunity for people to find out more about the culture of the Isle of Man, and particularly how the Manx language fits in with that culture. But again, I think we're looking for the future. We're looking to see how the programme can be potentially improved or changed a little bit. It's never a good thing to keep the same thing going time and time again.
You're saying a dangerous thing, though, when Manx people
yeah,
are listening.
Yeah, we don't like change. But what I suppose we're very keen on is finding out from listeners what it is that they particularly like about the programme. I mean, there's an email address which I'm not sure is working yet, but it should be working fairly soon, I'm told, touch wood anyway, which was MJ for Moghrey Jedoonee, just MJ at manxradio.com. So if people want to sort of feedback to MJ at manxradio.com, probably not till maybe Monday afternoon, because I'm not sure the email address is working just yet. Or they can feedback to me on Facebook or Twitter. I think I'm the only Phil Gawne on both of those. There may be others, but I know there was a spoof account at one point, but we'll not go into that.
Was there?
Oh yeah, that was great fun. But where was I? Yeah, we're quite keen, and of course they can feed into the programme today. What is it you really like about the programme? What do you not want to see changed? Equally, what things would you like to see that we potentially could be putting into the programme? Are there other things that we could do? I mean, one of the thoughts that we've had in some of the discussions we've had so far are that maybe we can have probably not just one regular contributor in the way that Brian did over all that long time, but we could have maybe a range of different contributors at different times, possibly focusing on different aspects of Manx culture. We also feel it's important to include environment as well. We're just looking at the whole range of possible inputs into the culture of the Isle of Man. Obviously, for me, the sort of the very Manx aspects of culture on the island are really important, but there are other elements of culture on the island too. You know, we've got immigrant populations, people from I don't know. There's a Polish community on the island. I suppose you could say there's an English community on the island. There's a whole range of different people, different communities, different understandings of what it is to live on the island, what it is to be Manx, and that's what we hope the programme will be all about, to really explore the sort of the cultural, what's really good culturally about the island in the future. So please, anybody with ideas, we're very, very interested to hear, and particularly anybody who'd be keen on being a contributor to the programme. Again, if you could, as I say, get in touch with me either on Facebook or Twitter, or to this mj@manxradio.com, which I'm assured will definitely be working by Monday afternoon,
right.
and equally feed into the programme. It'll be really interesting to hear what people have to say.
It will be, and the programme text number is 166177, or if you're on the email, wherever you are in the world as well, you might be somebody's Manx who's living as far away as Australia or something like that, studio@manxradio.com is the email address. Let's do an update in the weather. I'll do it in English this week, Phil, and you can do it the Manx version of it. A cold day, but dry and bright with some sunshine at times, and a light, mainly east or northeasterly wind. Temperature will only get to around 5 degrees Celsius at best during the day. Then a widespread frost is developing tonight.
An emshed dew, be le fua as gial on dew, leis green na keten, as gia vug vain ya na nya hui. Habi an tempralis giri na smoo na queg Celsius, ag an hood smoo, fain le, as hig rio rish, bonus the holyavol nach. Chirim as gial rish merach, leis gia vug, och fua rish leis tempralis surge ke Celsius. Hig sneachta fluch na sneachta, stiach the hodjamaran, fud na hi Jedoonee.
Yeah, I'm worried about that because I'm flying off the island on Tuesday. You're saying there's snow coming?
Yeah, sneachta bug, with a wonderful word, soft snow, or that's sleet, or sneachta, which is the word for snow, of course, in Manx. There's a wonderful fellow, one of the Karens of Cregnesh. In the centre of Cregnesh, those who know it, there's the little farmstead, Karen's Croft, they call it, and there's a fellow called James Karen, and I was told from some of the old characters in Cregnesh, whenever there was a big storm coming, James would be going around the village shouting, Irish woo, which is big weather, Irish woo, big weather coming in. So, so there's big weather coming in just before you're flying away. So.
Oh, mighty. Let me do the Duty Chemist rota for you for today, which is Sunday the 4th of February. In Douglas, as always, there's a choice of 2. You can have Boots the Chemist, 14 to 22 Strand Street in Douglas, which is open now till 4:30, or Lloyd's Pharmacy ShopRite in Victoria Road, which is open now until 2 p.m. Ramsey in the North, it's Lloyd's Pharmacy ShopRite in Baring Road, open now till 2 p.m. The South, this week, it's the turn of Castle Pharmacy, 20 Maloo Street in Castletown, open 12 noon till 1 p.m. Or Peel, and the West is covered by Cowley Pharmacy, 8 to 10 Athol Place in Peel, and that's open 12 noon till 1.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Right, so let's have a bit of a Manx track for you this morning, and it's come from a CD that I found, Ellen McCree, which I think is Isle of My Heart, Phil, is it something like that?
Yeah, that would be about right.
And this is the lyrics and were written by Tom Glassy. And I don't hear this one very often. And it's backed with, of course, well-known Manx tune. So let's listen to this one. This is called Home. There we are. Recited and written by Tom Glassy from a CD called Ellen McCree. And that was his own one called Home. which is nice. I like them ones with the sort of, like one's got the Ellen Van in the background, a bit of sort of how people perceive the Isle of Man.
Yeah, and actually these things are really very important, and this is one of the reasons I got so involved with the whole cultural thing on the island. Culture and community is so important, and hopefully we'll have opportunity as we get through the rest of the programme to talk a little bit more about that. But there was there was a very interesting thing on Facebook. And again, you can't believe anything you read on Facebook these days, because half of it is made up. But I'm hoping this bit isn't, because it helps me reinforce the discussion that hopefully we'll have as we get through the programme. There was a list, there was a sort of a TED talk, and then a list of the top 10, I think, best ways to live to 100, assuming anyone wants to live to 100. And apparently there had been some research done into this too. So, but I haven't checked this out. So if it's as they say, if it's a lie, I'm telling it's a lie. I was told. However, interestingly, the top 10, it starts off the least likely influence on having a long life is clean air. Then hypertension and being able to relax better. That's the next least. Next least then is whether you're lean against overweight. The next important factor is exercise. And so it goes on. Having had the flu vaccine, that's another good reason to be able to live to 100. Quitting boozing, quitting smoking. But the top two, and by a long chalk really, the top two things that influence how long your life is going to be, according to this study, and there are many studies, and I'm sure that depending on how much you pay the people doing the study.
There's a study in the game Cluedo too.
Yeah, but the top two on this one was close relationships and social integration. So actually having a good, strong, I suppose, family or group of friends around you, and a good, strong community in which to live. These were the things that came out as the most important if you want to have a very long and healthy life. Which actually, the more you think about it, most of the stresses and strains that come into life, the bad habits that we pick up in life, probably come along because maybe we're stressed out, and just having that person to talk to, being able to feel part of a community, have that feeling of belonging. Actually, these are things that are probably overlooked by most policymakers, but really so essential. It's that kind of the Manx way of life that we keep talking about, but no one can really lay their finger on exactly what it is. But strong communities and strong personal close personal relationships. These are the things that matter if you want to live a long and healthy life.
And the funny thing is, when we were kids brought up on the farm, it was the same generation of people who'd been them farms, and then their sons had took over the farms. So we knew all the people that were in the farms, I suppose in a 5-mile radius of us, and it never changed throughout, 15, 20 years of my younger days, probably.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing, and I think it's a thing that, we'll not get into politics, but one of the things that has saddened me most of my life, I suppose, is the way in which that whole farming community thing has changed. And obviously, that was something I was brought up in, was that strong farming community. But even in the sort of 60s, early 70s, you could see things were starting to go. I remember talking to John. It was great actually hearing the programme just before this, listening to John Kenyock. We shared lots of passions, not least arguing the toss with each other about Manx agriculture. But I remember talking to John, and he was saying, back in, when I was, when he first started off in farming, he could look over the brew of the hill, and there were 10, 15, 20 farms, and now there's only 2, and that change had been happening over a 30, 40 year period, and it is very sad. And actually, I suppose one of the things that Culture at Vannon is about at the moment is trying to reconnect communities or rebuild communities to a certain extent, and use that the culture of the island as an important feature, perhaps the glue that brings the communities or sticks the communities together, which
Yeah.
is good.
It's, I suppose you could sort of go in the category of the victim of your own success, isn't it? We got access to the big supermarkets that come in now, where years ago the farmers were just giving it to the greengrocer down the road and
Yeah,
selling
yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah,
and
and
they
again-
weren't making millions.
No,
They did
no,
enough
and-
to feed their 12 children or whatever.
Absolutely, and many of the problems that we're seeing in terms of long-term sustainability of human life seem to emanate from the fact that we move in a particular direction, particularly on the food side we're talking about. You look at that direction we're heading. We get more and more of this fancy plastic packaging. The latest sort of buzz topic in the sort of sustainability environmental field is we're using too much plastic. I think we've probably known that for donkey's years, but at least it's becoming fashionable now to reduce the amount of plastic we're using, which is great. But of course, when you were buying your carrots from the farm shop down the road, you didn't need to have them bubble wrapped and airtight
no.
and
Soil
all
still
the
on
sort
them.
of stuff.
That's a big prize
Absolutely.
yesterday.
Yeah. So it's rebuilding community. I think around the world is a really important thing, and the bigger and bolder the sort of food distribution systems become, is the less connected people are with the food that they're actually buying. And of course, small traditional Manx family farms can't really compete with that, which is sad.
Okay, thank you, Phil. We'll be talking some Manx dialect words later. Who's going to test me on one or two during the programme? But we'll be talking about all sorts of things. Don't forget, if you've got anything to say about what you would like to see on Moghrey Jedoonee in future, 166177 is the text number, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. In the second hour of the programme, Phil, you're going to test me on some Manx dialect, aren't you?
Yeah, there was a wonderful thing that, as does from time to time, and I'm fairly sure this isn't fake news because I know most of these. There was a thing called Manx dialect words still in use in 1965, and eventually this got tracked down to apparently it was some sort of guide to the WI at the time. But there's a whole list. There's 24 of these here. I reckon many of these words probably in your household and my household are still in use now, but there are a list here, and I say we'll try it out.
I'll give us a couple now, and then we'll do the rest
the
after.
The first two are a bit hard, but
don't go there then.
So we'll try the number 3 on the list to start with. Brews. You'll know what brews.
The brews,
are.
aye, the hills out by the sea there.
Yeah, banks sloping to the shore.
But they're spelt Brooghs.
That's right, yeah, brews, Brooghs. Or in Manx, of course, the word brew means just that, as a slope or a little hill or a bank.
Yeah.
And you'd say brewin for brews, more than one brew would
Right.
be brewin. Then the next one, you might get this, butched.
Butch.
Yeah, butched.
Butched. Well, somebody who's butch is fairly big.
No, this one is bewitched.
All right.
So this one is a bit butched. Butched means bewitched. So there's something not quite right with it. But perhaps there's not so much butching going on in this century as there was back in 1965.
No. All right, we'll leave it there because it's do them more after the 11 o'clock news. It's 7 before 11. Past 11 o'clock. Welcome along. It's Moghrey Jedoonee. It means Sunday morning in the Manx language. And myself, Simon Clarke, and Phil Gawne with us this morning here till 12 o'clock. And we're talking just before the news, Phil, about some Manx dialect words that possibly are still in use that a lot of the older Manx people know as well.
Yes, I think
And
so.
younger ones like us.
Yes, us young fellas, of course. There's the first two I reckon might be a bit tricky, but maybe you'll get these. Binjane.
No.
That was curds and whey. We now use the word for yoghurt in Manx. I'm not sure how prominent yoghurt was in 1965, but we now use binjane for yoghurt.
Right.
Bithig.
A bithig.
Bithig. Billig was the cream that did you ever, were you in a dairy farm?
No, we had a couple of cows we
Yeah.
used to milk by hand.
There was these big basins, and you'd take the billig off the tops of the basin. Anyway, that's another matter. We did brews and butched. Coosh, you'll have heard of a coosh. Are you having a little coosh?
Ah, Coosh I've heard of.
Yes, a little chat, or a cosy chat.
A get-together sort of
Yeah,
thing, was it?
having a coosh. And then cooth, you'll know the cooth.
The Cooth, the
Yeah.
cold, the cowl.
The cowl, the
Oh,
cooth.
cowl weather.
Yeah. This one here, cretchy, a bit cretchy.
Ah, is that crabby sort of thing?
Yeah,
Is it?
irritable, they say. And then this one, this was more of a definite Manx word, driss. There's a bit of a driss on him.
A driss.
Yeah.
Is that a grumpy temper on
Well,
it?
it's agitation. Actually, many of my friends who've now taken over in different ministerial roles, that would be most appropriate for them. They're always in a rush to get on for that kind of tense sort of nervousness that you have about, oh, I've got too many things to do, and that sort of agitation. Friggin is an interesting one, which is a frown. The poem Bobby Bob, herself with a friggin went around. They ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob? Well, a friggin is a frown. Gennel.
Yeah, Christmas, is it?
Yeah,
Or
well, Gennel
happy,
is
is
happy.
it? Happy, yeah.
So he's a Gennel sort of a fella.
Yeah, Nullick Gennel is happy Christmas.
Yeah,
maybe.
so a Gennel, he's Gennel, means he's a nice, happy sort of a soul. And then Geel.
Oh, Geel.
You'll have done an awful lot of that yourself, no doubt.
Geel it'd be mischief or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Geel is mischief. This one is not really so much of a Manx connection in terms of Gaelic, but John herself was Joran at him terrible.
Oh, yap,
Yes.
telling him off.
Yes, scolding. And then another one here, Maul.
Maul, miserable enough, is it? Feeling maul.
First time I heard that mention was in relation to I think there was a cow. The cow was a bit maul. It was a bit sick and
not a self sort of thing. Yeah.
But, the Manx word, we used the word maul for slow, but a bit slow, a bit sickly.
Yeah.
So
One more.
One more then. Last one here is the mob beg. Which is a small crowd, the mob beg.
Yeah.
So it was often used to describe themselves. The little people that they'd be coming around, and the mob beg would be coming. You'd never want to meet those fellas in a dark night.
No, didn't know we had a mob on the island. Right, we're going to play our Sunday smoothie this morning. And we're going to do a What's On guide very shortly indeed. But good news about the email.
Yes, apparently MJ at
Right.
manxradio.com is now operational. And again, if people want to sit down and have some thoughts about what they would like to hear on this programme in the coming months, weeks, years,
Right.
please do get in touch, because clearly we don't want to change all the good aspects of the programme. We want to make sure that things are still happening that people want to listen to. But also we're quite sure there'll be people with ideas out there of other things they might be interested in hearing as well. So the more feedback we can get is the more we can ensure that the programme in the future very much fits in with what listeners are hoping to hear.
Yeah, 11:45. Obviously, we usually do a short story, English and Manx, but you've got a song for us that you're going to do in English and Manx. You're going to sing it?
No, I could do, but fortunately for you, my voice is not 100% at the moment. I've been struggling with this old flu, so
Right.
I'll use that as an excuse anyway.
The Murren.
Yeah,
Well, we've got some more Manx dialects ones to do, but we'll talk about in the What's On guide in a minute or two what's happening. But there are a few people still interested, and myself have personal interest as well, with these Manx dialect plays.
Yes, indeed, and of course, the very sad news that I think met us all over the Christmas was the sad passing of Roy Kenyock, who again had been very much part of ensuring the Manx plays kept going with the Michael players and all. But what is good news is for those of us who have a passion for these things, there's a Manx concert taking place which has been organised by the Celtic Congress, the Manx branch of the Celtic Congress. The concert's taken place on the 24th of February. That's a Saturday night at 7:30 at the Centenary Centre. And it will be featuring the Michael Players, who recently, was it last year, won the Rye Blaine of Annan, I think it was. Was it last year?
No,
or maybe the year
before,
before,
I
was
think.
it? But yeah, the Michael Players, they're it says featuring, but I think they're top of the bill, so that's good news.
You have to relearn the lines then.
So they're doing the J.J. Neen comic dialect play, A Little Smook. And then
There won't be any smook though.
Because
of the fire
health
eggs.
and safety, you know
right.
that. But there'll be music, song, and recitation. Scran, which is exciting young Manx
Group of musicians,
folk
aren't they?
band, really good young musicians. Marlene Hendy and Dillis Sowry, who are an exciting, maybe not quite so young. I
You're
have to
in
watch
dangerous
myself
ground
now.
now.
But Marlene and Dillis have known to most of us who go out to any sort of Manx concert.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
They are
singers.
great to support. everything like that.
Deborah Taubman and Wyn Collister, who may be giving us a song, but I think more likely recitations. Tickets are on sale for £7. There's a raffle as well for Friends of Sophia Golden. And as I say, that Manx concert organised by the Celtic Congress, taking place at the Centenary Centre in Peel, Saturday the 24th at 7:30. Tickets are available from Celtic Gold in Michael Street, Peel, Shakti Man, Parliament Street, Ramsey, G.H. Collett, Castle Street, Douglas, and Peter Norris Music, Bucks Road, Douglas. And I was speaking to one of the people from the Celtic Congress, and she was telling me, and you can get tickets online as well. I don't know how they do it, she said, but you can get them online. And apparently that would be through the Centenary Centre.
That's what's great about Moghrey Jedoonee. Now I'll just send a stamped address envelope.
Well, absolutely.
If I just drop the G at the end of words, will it make me halfway there to speaking Manx?
Yes, it's a good start. And if you add yesser on the end, it brings you even further. So, I remember a few scallywags, for want of a better word, who would, I can speak Manx, and they would just bring collect together a number of places like Ronig, Bonig, Sconig, yes. And there you are, I can speak Manx. And they sort of can. It wouldn't make much sense to most people, but but certainly not saying a G on the end of a word is certainly Manx dialect anyway.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Albert, for your contribution to the programme this morning as well. You're welcome. Anyone, text in 166177 or email studio@manxradio.com, or mj@manxradio.com is another email address that is up and running now. Text in, Phil. I don't think Phyllis and I have ever been described as exciting, but not so young.
Yeah.
So, but no offence taken.
Oh, that's good. I can
you're
go
lucky.
to Ramsey again then.
Hey?
I'll be allowed back in Ramsey.
Well, just about. Let's do the weather in English and in Manx. I'll do the duty chemist rota for you today. A dry and bright day again, with light winds, but still cold, with temperatures peaking at just 4 degrees today. A band of sleet or snow will move in overnight. The wind will turn to a stronger northwesterly first thing on Tuesday. A cold day again, with sleet or snow at first, turning to scattery wintry showers and the strong wind. I bet I've gone a page too far here. A cold but dry and bright start with some sunshine at times today, and light mainly east or northeasterly wind. And then overnight there'll be a widespread frost developing.
As an Hampshire Jew, be lair fuair as giall on Jew. Leis grian na céatan as gia vug vain yan na nya hui. Ha bí an tempralis giri na smú na 2 Celsius ag an chud smú fain le, as heg ro rish bonus the holja vol nach. Tiram as gial rish merach leis gia vug, och fuair rish leis tempralis surge 4 Celsius. Heg sneach de fluch na sliach de bug stiach de hodjum oran fud na hei.
Welcome back to Moghrey Jedoonee with Simon Clarke and Phil Gawne here till 12 o'clock today, 27 minutes before 12 midday. And I was going to say something exciting. The Guild. Are you in there this year, Phil?
No, unfortunately, the class that I most enjoyed being in was the Manx dialect recitation class.
Yeah.
And Winnie Collister was judging it for some years, and then they were looking for a new judge, and my wife Annie is now the judge. And I kind of felt, well, it's not really appropriate for me to be going in the class if Annie's judging, because I'd have no chance of winning.
Well, even if you were the best, you know, and it's that thing where, well, people would say it's fixed.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I'm sure that it gives everyone else.
I was
the
that
opportunity,
close.
doesn't it?
I was out for a meal with some of the Michael players last night, and had the sheet with me to enter the public speaking part of it, or the Manx dialect part of it. And anyway, I was that close to putting the entry in last night, because entries closed last night. Of course, they won't be accepted after tonight, whatever the reason. And when I'd got home, it was 12:05. I thought, that's fate for you.
Hey, that's a shame.
No,
so we'll have to wait till next year then.
We'll have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a bit of a rushed thing, so I thought, I better be prepared more.
Well, I did actually try. I was using the online thing, because we always have choir practice on a Saturday night, so we were out at choir practice, and one of the choir said, you should be in the Manx Gaelic solo. So I thought, I'll have a go at it then. So I went online. I was trying on my iPad to get booked in to be in the Manx Gaelic solo class, and I ended up I was booked on for the brass ensemble, and I thought, no, this is not, it's not working for me here. So I thought it must be a sign. So next year, definitely next year.
You good with the trombone? No,
we'll find out.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to that one. Okay, takes us nicely on to ploughing.
yes, and Annie and myself, we were out yesterday at the Charlie Kane Manx style ploughing match. Yet another of those wholly unique things for the island. There's nowhere else in the world that does Manx style ploughing. You wouldn't be too surprised, I suppose, to learn that. But actually, the way in which we do this, it's probably too complicated to explain on radio. You'd need pictures to understand. But basically, it's cutting a little piece off the top of the furrow to make a nice, even seed bed, which then meant that all you'd go out and you'd scatter the seeds by hand and then run the harrows over the top. And in theory, that's all you would need to do, and you've got your field sown. So it's a kind of a way of reducing the amount of work that you would need to do with the horses on the field. And then, of course, it's developed into tractor ploughing as well. So normally, well, not normally, but I was certainly ploughing there last year, and I managed to win this beautiful, there was a big copper kettle. So I spent 2 hours yesterday morning trying to get this thing polished up for whoever was winning it.
Is this with the horse?
Yeah, with the horses. So I'm currently without. Well, no, I've just acquired a new pair of horses, so hopefully I'll be competing there next year when I've got these fellas going a bit better. So yeah, but while I was there, and this was something to my shame, I didn't know what the answer was. The Charlie Kane's family were asking me, well, Charlie and Molly, unfortunately Molly just died fairly recently, but the farm's name is Shenhara, and they wanted to know what did it mean. And I was thinking, well, I know what the Shen bit means. That Shen or Shan means old in Manx, but I wasn't sure about Hara. Well, thanks to George Broderick's place name dictionary, I now have some ideas as to what it might be. There's an Irish word for a hedge, which is ara, which could be the name, but equally, given its proximity to the Abbey Mill, the second element could be the Manx word ara, which means a mill race. So it's either the old hedge, or the place of the old hedge maybe, or the old mill race, one or the other. So you can take your pick as to which one you want.
What was so attractive about the ploughing matches still then? I mean, you see a few modern tractors in now, so some of the youngsters that do the ploughing, even with the reversible ploughs in some of the competitions, are in, and they're sort of keen enough to do it.
Yeah, well, I think it's going back to what we were
It's an art, isn't it?
Talking about at the start of the programme. As much as anything, I mean, yes, the enjoyment, I almost used the word thrill, but thrill and ploughing matches is probably pushing it even for someone passionately interested in ploughing. But the enjoyment of the actual ploughing is one thing, but it's also the whole community that goes around with that as well, and it's it's a great sort of community feeling. You go out to these places, usually windswept, often a little bit of rain, very, very cold, most frequently. But you get into the tent and the marquee, as it has to be referred to.
Yes.
No such thing as a tent; it's the marquee. And have a bit of a feed and a cup of tea, and always plenty of people in to have a yarn with.
I just love the fact that a few of them, when somebody's ploughing, there'll be three or half a dozen, as the Manx say, standing at the end of the furrow looking up and going,
yes.
A bit of a kink in it there.
Absolutely. No, I remember that when I started off ploughing, there was always plenty of experts on the headlands, and you'd plough up one way, and somebody, I think you're a little bit deep, boy, a little bit deep there. You want to get it a little bit lighter, and then you'd maybe lighten it up, and you go down the other way, a little bit wide, I think there, boy. You're ploughing a bit wide, and if you listened to the advice, you'd have every single furrow you could possibly imagine ploughed. None of them would look the same.
No.
And there was one fellow who used to plough, and he would take the advice of whoever he'd met on the headland, and he had all kinds of different shapes and sizes of furrows, and yes, it wasn't quite what you were trying to do.
Well, I remember I worked for the late Frank Kinraid from Brentney Farm in Derby, and he was an excellent ploughman. He from more of the modern generation, but he took so much pride in it. You could go down the 16-acre field and you'd hardly see a kink in it. And he was saying that years ago when they were all standing on the edges judging the plough, and he said you'd never leave the spanner on the plough overnight because somebody else would come along and put a couple of nicks on her, so you started the next day, she'd be different.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Aye.
Right mess of it.
Yes,
keen as anything.
There was none of this idea of crooked ploughing at all. You'd be ashamed to leave it crooked. But,
the way of the world, isn't it? Speed now. All right, let's have our second of our Manx tracks this morning. This is Barul, and this is called 5 Hours Behind. 10.5 minutes before 12 midday. It's Clarke and Phil today, through till 12. And Phil, it's got a bit of a sort of Manx English song with us, but still, we've had one or two people putting into the programme on text and email as well, and that's the sort of thing we want to see, isn't it?
Yes, certainly. And again, I know people sometimes don't necessarily want to have their thoughts and ideas broadcast on air, but if anyone has got ideas as to how they want to see the programme going in the future, I mean, our view is so long as it's something to do with culture and it's about promoting the culture and the language of the Isle of Man, then that's clearly what we want to do. But please do feed back to mj@manxradio.com, and find me on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and we'll use the ideas as best we can.
Right, you've got some English and Manx, a bit of a song.
Yeah.
They've said the voice wasn't up to singing it today.
Well, I could, but I think...
we leave that till you get a bit more settled.
You couldn't afford the royalties. One of the great things, if you're learning a language, actually, is to speak it as early on as you can. And one of the best ways to actually recite words in a language is to sing a song. So actually, for anyone who's out there learning Manx, I would strongly advise learn some of the songs, particularly if you're a singer. This one here is a great one. It's one of my absolute favourites. It's called Aren Suri, and it's traditional. I don't know there's a particular author. Leis Suri on sig yaura and venik fine malai, och shul on sa daragus scone fagan and red tie, van mi gulgus na honnigan as crankle shira and trail, as van flia yelia arms, as my ligan and gesk yal. So that's in English. With courting in the winter, often I would be lying, unoften, infrequently, I would be lying or in my bed. But walking in the darkness, rarely seeing the way home. I was going to the windows and knocking, seeking entrance, and the rain was pouring on me, and my cheeks were getting bright. Now, I don't know whether the cheeks were getting bright because he was getting slapped by these women he was out courting, or whether it was the cold. It doesn't tell you in the song. Second verse then. O shimmer I leabhar geabhraí tamí riú a cheau, me cheadú ag na honnigan der a bhain a crew, me chadan yes vech fioch, as draget leden a lech, ach lia yenens Jedoonee the vacant spedden ag buech. And this one is so many long evenings or nights in the winter I have often spent standing at the windows until I would be shaken. My feet again would be wet and dragged full of muck, dragging through the mud and everything. As Ochlia Yenin Jedoonee, but soon I would forget it when I would see a beautiful young woman. This was the whole point of the courting, of course. And then the next verse. Van Ostje rai jema alt as me higlen snaggery and kraken jema jonten boler gles chow mui grey me grey as me gertjak nish ligges u mi stiach the nons akonua jay the shejach village fach. So the water was pouring from my hair, and my teeth were snaggery. I wonder what's the English word for snaggery? They were snapping or chattering. Chattering, that's the word. Snaggery is a lovely word for chattering. And krachen Jamie Yonton, the skin on my joints, bulla air glass me hammering on the glass from the outside, saying, "My love and my sweetheart, now please let me in, that I could have just 1 hour, of your company, village vark, sweet, or dear sweet person." So that's as far as we're going to get today, which then means I'll have to come back and give you the last 2 verses. So I'll have to leave you in suspense there. But great little song that, and it tells you a little bit about what courting might have been like back in maybe the 18th century, 19th century perhaps. These fellas dragging around the countryside in the rain and the muck, just knocking on the windows, trying to get a glimpse of their sweethearts.
Be arrested today.
Well, yes, you probably would, wouldn't you?
Well, good am I, Phil. It's been a pleasure having you on the programme on Moghrey Jedoonee this morning. I'm sure we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with us.
Well, Tommy, fi wiach the way on. I'm really very pleased to have been here, and thank you. Good am I, Moyo, Simon.
Righty, right.